Good morning. So I am recording from our tornado shelter this morning.
What?
Yeah.
Tornado shelter?
Yeah.
What?
So this place is a disaster. I could barely get set up to talk to you today because the tornado siren, alarm, whistle, whatever they call it in the neighborhood, it went off recently.
We call it a tornado siren.
I don't know. What do you call it?
Call it a tornado
Yeah,
siren.
okay. So that one went off at like 2 a.m. a few days ago. So we had to go hustle all the kids out of bed and bring them to the basement and tell them to go back to bed. And oh my gosh, that was a whole. My kids would die in a real emergency because we didn't get hit by the tornado, but they didn't want to get out of bed. They said, "Do you hear the siren? There's a tornado coming!" And they went back to bed. And then we had to drag them out of there over our shoulders like firefighters. It was hilarious and sad because now we're
But you were a firefighter, so you have that skill.
I do, but my wife and there's 2 of us and 4 of them, and it just if the tornado was really coming, they didn't really care enough to live, so they just went back to bed.
See, my kids are exactly the opposite. They're completely terrified, and if I don't get them to the basement as soon as the watch is issued, there's something wrong with me as a father.
Oh boy.
Gosh, I'm sorry that happened to you.
No.
But you survived. I see the ceiling. No, you didn't.
No, the basement is torn apart.
The ceiling is
my
intact
gosh.
ahead of. No, the walls are standing. The lights are on.
We're fine. It didn't hit us. The kids just, oh my gosh, they destroyed my basement. And then I said I'd record with you, and then I came down and looked around and went, oh no.
Well, because it becomes fun time down there, right?
It
It's
was,
like, oh,
yeah.
we should be in bed, but we're up and let's have fun.
Oh
Well,
boy.
good. I'm glad to hear it. I had a disaster of a different kind. I went on my kids' 8th grade overnight field trip.
Oh, you were a chaperone. Yes, you were going to stay up all night and share a room with another weird adult that you don't know.
Yeah, I ended up not doing that.
Did you get a room on points or something?
Paired with dollar signs.
Okay.
I ended up so during the day they did some excursions at a nature center, and I was paired with another chaperone mom. And I said, have you got your roommate yet? And she said, no, I bought my own room. I said, oh my God, I'm so jealous. I thought about doing that. I didn't. So as soon as I realized she did that, as soon as we got to the hotel, I went beeline to the front. I got my 10 kids checked into their rooms, went straight to the desk, said, I'll take any room you got. And so I got my own room too. And it worked out quite nicely for me.
Well, that sounds nice.
Yeah. The kids were good. There were no hotel emergencies or anything like that. So we all survived. You survived your tornado. I survived chaperoning.
Oh,
so well
not
done.
looking forward to my turn for that whenever that happens.
Yeah, I think my wife's going next. She deserves that. She should have some fun time on the No, it was good. The kids were good.
Oh boy. So did you watch that movie? I watched the movie.
Yeah, I was gonna you stepped on my segue.
Oh.
Hey, listener, forget that last minute. Hey, did you go out? You had a date night last night? Did you tell me about this?
I did. We went out to the movies.
You went and saw a movie. What'd you see?
Let's see. It was The Accountant 2.
The Accountant 2, the sequel to the movie about auditing and spreadsheets that nobody knew we needed. That one?
Yeah, it was really good. It was a really good sequel.
Really? Did it? I have no idea what the account. I hope it wasn't about spreadsheets, but
well, it kind of is.
Whatever the first account.
Did you not see the first one?
Really?
Oh boy, it's an action movie.
No.
Ben Affleck, Anna Kendrick,
I didn't.
John Lithgow, big cast.
No, gosh, no, I didn't see it. It's too bad. It sounds like we could do that one.
There's no aviation in it. There's like zero aviation. Actually, let me think. Is there any aviation in that movie? No, there really is nothing. Not even a helicopter. Actually, there's a drone scene. There is a drone scene, but that doesn't count.
Okay. Well, was that dinner and a movie? It was like big night out?
We had our own dinner. We made our own dinner at home, but yeah. Kids are at grandma's. That's why I have a nice quiet recording area. Yeah. It's okay. Yep.
Dinner and a movie, a little marital bliss after the fact. And
you mean like dishes and laundry? Yeah, marital bliss.
That's exactly. Yeah.
Home Depot, maybe.
Exactly what I meant.
Costco.
Hey, I was telling somebody once that we took a big vacation. We're gonna do a vacation podcast one day. Took a big vacation for our 20th wedding anniversary. Went to the Cook Islands.
Cool.
That was that was a really cool trip, and I was telling a guy about this. He goes, "Yeah, my 20th anniversary, we went to Home Depot." So, yeah.
Oh man.
Um, well, I didn't see The Accountant or The Accountant 2, but, we're back at the movies. It's Cats on Guard, and I'm MC Howe. Joining me is co I have to call you
You
co-captain because
do.
you keep calling yourself
You do. Yeah.
co-captain. Richard Million.
Yeah.
Richard Million is here. We are breaking down the movies once again. Today, the 2017 major motion picture American Made, starring Tom Cruise as real-life airline pilot Barry Seal. The movie was directed by Doug Liman, and based on my research, they took some liberties on this one. And you, Captain Million, set this up as the most accurate. That's, I believe, how you called it. One of the most accurate aviation depiction
Yes.
movies. I'm taking some liberty with that description. And honestly, I wasn't that excited
Okay,
before I
let's
watched
let's
this
set the
movie.
standard
And I'm,
for Hollywood aviation
yeah,
scenes where the
sure.
outside is an Airbus and the inside is a Boeing, or they're in a 747 but there's only two throttle levers. You see what I'm saying? That's where my standards are. So I would say, and maybe you're looking for perfection, but that would be called a documentary and not a movie.
Well, there were a number of things that went on. And honestly, more of this movie is not about flying. It's the story of a was it TWA? He was a TWA pilot in the 1970s who got involved in the drug trade, and he was smuggling drugs while flying.
Well, he
Well,
started with
I
cigars. It was just low small time stuff in the back of
started
a
with
suitcase.
cigars. Yeah. Yeah, and he eventually, found his way working for the Colombian drug cartels, and he was shipping arms to the,
But that
Sandinistas
was for the
and,
CIA. That was for
hooking
our
up with.
government.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, he
well, it
worked
all
for
happened. It
everybody.
all happened in the movie. Yep, yep, and, not to give a spoiler too early, but, it wasn't a long career. It was a lucrative career while it lasted, but it did, have an ending that might have been predictable. So, let's get into it, shall we?
All right, we want to talk about first scene because there's some um there's more to it than just the scene. If you're not an airline pilot, it might be a little over your head, but he's sitting in the cockpit bored. They're like number 20 for takeoff or something.
Oh. No, and, yeah, before it even gets to that, though, I mean, the movie starts off with a little kind of a little history lesson of what's going on in America. The economy's bad,
Oh,
and
the force,
Jimmy
yeah.
Carter's president. The little setting the scene for what's about to come, and yeah, so then we jump up there, and yep, he is in that flight deck. We're number 11 for take. Like, okay, number 11.
So
So
one thing that
little delay.
they don't really push the idea unless you bring your own brain to it is that it's a monotonous lifestyle. Like,
Yes.
there's a lot of little mini things that you and I handle as professional pilots, but overall, it's the same start checklist, the same taxi clearance, the same number and 11 for takeoff, the same briefing to the passengers, so there's a very monotonous storyline to every flight leg, and sometimes you do multiple per day. And then you handle these little contingencies throughout the day that we're professionally paid to make those really good decisions to stop. We want it to be monotonous. Monotonous is safe, right? So
Oh,
that's
100%.
aviation, but
Yeah.
you can see in his eyes and his body language, his tone of voice, he is over it. This is boring, right?
Yes, and I'm not sure if you take that to mean he's just over the job, over the day, over his career, or is it that smuggling cigars is just that much more interesting for him at this point? But, you know, and speaking of cigars, did you notice that there was smoke in the flight deck and it wasn't coming from the avionics
I
bay?
know they could do that back then. You could just have a cigarette in the whole airplane. Yeah. When did that stop? Mid 80s?
I'll tell you this, when I became a flight attendant, it was 1997. We still had some smoking sections on those
I
airplanes.
remember sitting in a smoking section with my mom's best friend, who's we call her aunt. and she's a 2 pack, a 3 pack a day chain smoker. And I remember being in a smoking section as a child, and it was just like acceptable. It was just like, yeah, you just sit here and play your etch a sketch or
Yeah.
whatever the hell toy I had.
So
Yeah,
everywhere you go to a restaurant, smoking or non, they had
can
vending
you believe
machines
it?
that doled out cigarettes all over
They
town.
still do. They still
So, yeah,
do. I found them on overnights last
really.
week. Yes, it's amazing.
Oh my god.
I don't
Where
smoke.
where
I don't
oh
smoke,
my
but I
gosh.
thought it was like a blast from the past. It was like seeing a chrome milkshake machine, you know?
Well, there's no more smoking in the flight. There's occasional vaping, as we have learned, but there is no more
They don't fly with you anymore.
smoking is gone. No, I'm on the list. So, uh, yeah, they're just sitting there waiting in line for takeoff, as bored as could be, and, I don't know if you noticed this, it alternated between shots. The FO had between 3 and 4 stripes on their shoulder. At one point, it was a different person altogether. Just, I don't know, bad editing, or were we trying to experience, day after day after day, he's with a different guy, he's with a different guy. Um, eventually they fly, and then they get to the
Yeah.
oh,
The
you
cruise
like this
flight.
part? They get to the hotel. Oh, wait a minute.
He gets in a
Oh, yeah, so
cruise and
was
the
this
guy's asleep, and he's like, "Ah, come on. Wake me up in
yeah, his
Texas or
buddy is
something."
asleep
Yeah.
next to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, okay, that happens. I'm not gonna say that doesn't
Yeah,
happen.
but what
It
doesn't
does
happen is
happen.
you rip the airplane around to wake them up. You click the autopilot off and
Yeah,
the other guy's
so
still asleep, like,
so
that's a problem.
so Tom Cruise as Barry Seal, he looks at this guy sleeping next to him, and he decides he's gonna shake things up, literally, and he looks back, and you can see the passengers like, "Is there no door to the flight deck?" Because it makes it look like he is just looking at the passengers, seeing if anybody's paying attention before he just turns off the autopilot and goes crazy on the controls. Left, right, up, down. They are shaking that thing like they're trying to get that salt out of the salt shaker on a humid day. That's what he's trying to do. And everybody goes crazy. And yeah, sure. Did they used to do that in the
I hope
70s?
not.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so.
so.
Gosh, I don't know.
But a pilot finding somebody next to you asleep, I mean, that's accurate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You ever had that moment where it's like you're real close to landing and you're like, the other person's supposed to put the gear down for you. They're supposed to put the flaps out for you. And you're like, how far can I let this go? Will I lowering the gear wake this guy up when he hears the clunk sound comes down? And
Uh, the old
uh,
head bobs.
uh, then they're then they show the monotonous uh, saying goodbye to every
Oh, at every
passenger as they get
city.
off the plane.
Yeah, welcome
Every
to the
city they fly to. Yep, yep, yep. And then we get to the hotel, and apparently there's nobody in the hotel but crew members from this airline, and nobody goes to he goes to the front desk and he checks his flight bag he hands the to the hotel clerk, who takes the flight bag from him and puts it in storage, I guess. Like, you wouldn't take that up to your room with you?
So that's the smuggled goods, though.
Oh, is it? I didn't get that. So is this hotel in on it then?
Very well could be, or should be.
Okay, he smuggles
Yeah, he
the
goes, has a drink, he feed yep, then he gets the thing.
yeah, uniform.
Yeah, so that
Always
was
in uniform
acceptable.
doing
I think
all
that
this
was
stuff.
acceptable back then.
Was it? Man alive.
I think it's been a long time. We'd have to
Well,
look into
everybody
that.
was doing it.
Yeah. Cigarettes and booze, the flight attendants mingling with the pilots, and that was just kind of their thing, and
Yeah, I was surprised they didn't include an orgy scene in this
that was in the other
of
movie. I think
the,
it was Flight with Denzel
oh,
Washington.
so yeah, but no, they're always in the bar in their pilot costume, and I noticed also he's a long sleeve pilot shirt wearer. Did you notice that?
In the movie.
How many how many long sleeve pilots do you ever come
You?
across? Yeah, today I wore short today.
Oh.
We're getting towards summer. It's almost summer. Tomorrow's Memorial
Yeah,
Day.
but that's like that's usually like a red flag to start a trip. You're like, "Oh, he's a long sleeve shirt guy."
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm the anti-vape long sleever.
Oh, no.
Not I just noticed this because every time we see this guy, he's in the hotel rooms, he's got his long sleeve, he's got his drink on at the bar, and then he gets home from a trip, and you see his lady wife is so
Oh, yes,
excited, and
one of my favorite
she's
scenes.
getting on the sexy attire. It goes really fast from,
It needs to be
one
slower.
clip
It
to the
needs to be
next,
slower.
and Yeah, yeah, they needed to slow it down in a number of places in this movie. Anyway, we've seen him fly, we've seen him go crazy, we've seen him at the hotel, we've seen him drinking. Now he's home, and she hears him come in, and she's really excited. She puts on the sexy lingerie, and then she turns around, and he is face down on the bed, passed out. Not
I
unrealistic.
think that's very realistic. My gosh.
Yeah,
You haven't been like the adrenaline from the flight and then the hustle and the packing and the deplaning and the hustle of the parking lot to the car to the interstate, and then you get in your house and then your body just lets go and you're like, okay, we're home now. We're on the charging dock.
I've been there, but I also, more times than not, I need a little wind down time to my body can't just shut it. So I wish it could
Really?
just shut itself off and goes,
Oh,
"Yeah,
I could
no,
collapse like that so much.
really? Oh, good for you. Congratulations. I hope you didn't leave anybody waiting for something extra and you just passed out and that was the end of the
I'm
night."
sure it's happened. You wouldn't even know, neither would I.
No, no. Anyway, that's going on, and he's back to work, and he's back in the hotel, and he's approached by a gentleman who, uh, played by an actor best known in my life as General Hux from Star Wars. Domhnall, I don't know how you spell it. Domhnall.
Is he
I
British?
don't know how you
Is he
say it.
British in real life?
He is, I believe, he's Irish
Irish. Okay.
actually. Domhnall Gleeson, who I actually like. He's a very good actor. I've loved everything he's been in, and in this one, he's playing. I don't know if it's ever specifically stated that he's with the CIA, but he is recruiting Captain Barry Seals to, is it Seals or Seal? He's
Seal.
recruiting
Just
him
seal.
to, they know about his drug smuggle or his cigar smuggling. They know about it. And they figure this is a guy that we can get to do some shady, uh, under the table work. And so they hire him, they recruit him to take some reconnaissance photographs of Central America, where I'm not quite sure what it is they're trying to capture. Was it drugs? Was it guerrilla warfare going on?
There was evidence of the cartel activity with the cocaine industry.
So he takes him right away. They leave from the hotel lobby and they go to they're at a hangar at an airport somewhere, and this hangar has glass doors. And I thought that was unusual. And he presents him with this airplane, very, which I guess is an Aerostar.
Beautiful
And
airplane.
Barry says, it's the fastest twin engine airplane there is, which it turns out is true. I looked that up. You know me and my airplane identification expertise. I wasn't sure about this one. So that one is true. And he's still in his uniform. Like, no one ever goes to their hotel room. No one ever changes into comfortable clothes. It's just still in uniform. And they hire him. They say, we're going to have you fly this down to Central America. You're going to take pictures. And so he does this. And when he gets down, actually, no, they take the plane out first. He says, do you
Take it
want to
for a
take this plane
spin.
for a spin?
Yeah, yeah.
Takes it for a spin. Okay. Now, I'm going to set something up for you. We've talked about in the past how airplanes are not like jumping in one car to the next. Every airplane is a little different, and it takes a little bit of learning to fly one. Would you agree? Jumping in this plane and hot, unless Barry Seal is the greatest pilot of all time, and he can just figure everything out. He was he was shaking this plane up, kind of like that airliner with the passengers and the sleeping co-pilot.
I think I could jump in one and just do it as an act. But I also fly general aviation alongside,
You do.
like, so the piston world and the jet world are all day every day to me. So I think it would be possible to do that. But that could, maybe that was him. I don't know what his general aviation lifestyle was on the side.
I don't know, but I do know that he's been offered this opportunity and he hasn't considered whether he's going to take it. And he's back at work. He's in the flight deck and they're running a checklist. And the FO is not getting any response from Barry because Barry's in his own little world sussing out how much money he could make doing this and whether it would be more fun, more lively, more entertaining. And he just busts out of there mid checklist. He walks off the plane, steps off of whatever that 1978 TWA flight was, and he's walking away. And in the background, he's walking from an A320 which didn't even start flying for another 10 years, and TWA never even owned one. But that's it. He just leaves mid
Was
checklist.
that an
Done.
Airbus in the background? Was the airplane he walked away from?
Yes.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. So maybe I didn't pick this movie apart that hard.
Well, I'll be honest. I didn't notice that. I had to go back and relook at it. So he's off now. He's gonna go do secret stuff for the CIA. He flies down there and does his first little mission. They start shooting at him. He loses an engine from the gunfight and he's hot dogging it, trying to get. Then he's laughing. He's like, "This is the greatest thing ever." Just almost got shot down, and he's flying real low and dodging mountains and gunfire, and it's just it.
How about that engine failure scene? Was that accurate?
Yes,
Rudder
maybe.
trim into the good engine, oil coming out everywhere.
Did they? I didn't notice the rudder trim. Was that emphasized in the
That was one
movie?
of the biggest. Was like, yes, he did it right. He didn't just like cock the yoke to the side and ride it out on aileron, right?
Well,
Like,
okay. Let's let's open up here with Tom Cruise is a licensed pilot. I don't know what rating he has, but I would suspect it's probably the highest there is. And he does flying all the time. And I'm told that every time he's in one of these movies, he's doing all of his own flying.
yep.
So I got to think he knows what he's doing.
Absolutely, which is why I love that it's like him rolling rudder trim into the working engine instead of cross controlling the yoke into a failed engine and doing stupid stuff. Like he flew it for real.
Yeah, and he got away. So he does these trips for a while, and he's on one of these trips, and he stops at the self-serve gas pump at the airport, and he's approached by some gentlemen who ask him to get in a car with them. And I don't think he has any idea who these people are, but he goes with them.
You have to. You don't have a choice down there.
No, they don't really ask, do they?
No.
They just kind of come on, you're coming with us. And it turns out that this is the Colombian drug cartel, the Medellin cartel, which made famous in the Netflix series Narcos, which I watched. And fun fact, I learned that while they were shooting this movie, the Netflix crew was simultaneously filming Narcos down in Colombia, and these two film crews kept bumping into each other all over the town. So, capturing a lot of the same characters, and in this case, they just. Oh my god! What about your mute button?
I missed it. Sorry. There's 2 of those in this episode. You can go scribble out. 2 sniffles.
Oh well. Hey, I just got off of missed 2 trips for sickness.
I can hear it in your voice.
Yeah, still
Lingering.
Boy. We'll have to do some digital editing.
Boy.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So the Colombian drug runners want Barry now. They've come to know him as this CIA operative, and they want him to transport cocaine for them. And they offer him 2,000 pounds per kilo, I believe is what it was, which equates to
$2,000?
2.2 pounds. $2,000 per, which equates to 2 pounds basically, and that's pretty good money. And they need him to do it right away. In fact, so it's somehow, and I don't even know how this. They take him from the airport. He's filling up his plane. He leaves the airport there. He goes with them to wherever they take him. Then they're at another little airfield in the middle of the jungle.
And his plane is
a
already
very
there.
Small,
Yeah.
and his plane is already there. And so he agrees to do it, and barely able to get off the ground. They load it up
More
so
accurate
heavy.
aviation scenes.
It's true. Well, yes, until tell me this. So they load it up, and they got a fat guy that's going to go with them to make sure that the shipment gets delivered. He's like, it's either the fat guy or the drugs. I can't take both because I'm already overweight. So the fat guy gets off the plane. By the way, I'm told, according to the internet, Tom Cruise, not an exact look-alike for the real Barry Seals, if you want to talk about fat guys.
No,
fact,
I know. Yeah.
his the real Barry Seals nickname was what was it? Whatever it was, it translated to the fat guy. So whatever Spanish for
Gordo
that was.
or something like that.
That's it. Yeah, it was something like that. El Gordo.
So
anyway,
but here's the thing. He's loading it in the plane and they're like, but there's more room. There's more space. Fill it. Right? And like the uneducated aviation people are like, we need to put more stuff in because more stuff will fit. And he's like, it's not about space, it's about the weight, like the density, where it's high. He said hot, high, like it's high elevation, it's high temperature. These are things that affect piston driven airplanes and even jet airplanes, but to a lesser degree, that we don't see in aviation movies where they discuss density, altitude, and performance characteristics. And he's, well, can you make the runway longer? And those are like legitimate pilot considerations for how do I get an airplane over gross weight off the ground out here. Right. So like he did all the pilot things. And those are when I told you this is the most airplaney airplane movie, they go into things that go right over non-airplane people's heads. Like you could, if you have a short runway, you need all your performance, but what can you do to mitigate a runway you might not be able to get off of? Well, either have more runway or less temperature or less altitude or more horsepower. There's all these different factors that make an airplane get off the ground, and you need enough of them to make this work. And he was trying, backed it up, used max available runway. He chalked it with the rock to make sure he was all the way at the back.
Yeah, they backed that airplane all the way up to the edge of the trees of the jungle. I guess was it a grass strip that he
It
was
was
taking
dirt.
off
I think it
from?
was dirt.
And so it's grass or dirt, but it's a soft field, which again is going to have some negative performance aspects. But he's bouncing along. He's heavy. He manages to get the thing off at the last minute, and but then there's trees at the end, and he's climbing real slow, and he chops some of these tree branches off. Now, what uh, what kind of damage do you think that did to those propellers?
I Nixon, but this is like an unlimited budget CIA. They probably just switch the propellers out when he gets home.
So he can fly home all the way from Colombia. Now they wanted him to go to Miami. He said, "I'm not going to Miami." He had a better idea. He was going to go to Louisiana, where he lived. He knew of a swamp there, and he was going to drop the drugs out of a magic
Not a magic
door in the
door.
bottom of the
Not a
airplane.
magic
The
door.
magic door was, he called it a magic door. Well, I wrote
It's a
magic
camera
door. I don't know
hole.
if that was me or him. On my, it was a
It's
camera
got to be the
hole, was
camera
it?
hole. I mean, they have those in so many other airplanes.
I was gonna say because it was already there. It wasn't like they just put it in. It was already there. And so that's what he did. He he had a group of people, or the cartel, I guess, had their people waiting in the swamps of Louisiana, and he dropped all the drugs and got away with it. Now, he flew very low to avoid radar detection. So we know from flight school that the lower you go, the more dense the altitude and the more fuel you burn. So he's going all the way from Medellin, Colombia, across the rest of the tip of South America, across the Gulf of Mexico, and up into the Louisiana swamps in this twin engine Aerostar, which is a very fast aircraft, but does it have the fuel to make that flight without stopping at that low altitude?
Maybe at a
You
slower
tell me.
airspeed. I mean, fuel
Maybe.
consumption's lower the less horsepower piston-driven airplanes. Significantly less consumption, but I don't know. I'd have to do a sea level chart at like 50% power.
Well, why don't you get out your E6B and see if you can do some flight calculations and fuel
So
burn and
this, I
all
don't know,
that?
our listeners that aren't familiar with aerial mapping. So there's a whole bunch of airplanes. This is what I forgot to cover when we talked about the camera hole, the magic hole. There's a whole bunch of airplane types that before satellites and Google Maps, people would pay airplanes to do grid imagery of things, and they still do to some degree actively because the satellites only go around every so often and get pictures for us. But like, if you need weekly photos of your progress and things, we use drones now for this. But they used to just have airplanes do them. Just people would just fly airplanes around and take
Oh
pictures for
yeah.
you. Um, so
Yep.
you would mount this permanent camera with like a switch or a wire or somebody in the back operating it, and it would be pointed out the bottom of the airplane, and you fly your grid pattern. And like I said, it's still done, but there are plenty of airplanes out there that have these holes that were cut in, but they have to be like resealable for when the camera's not in there. You can't just fly around with an open hole in your airplane. So they have the hatch. And when the camera's in there, there's no hatch. When the camera's out, the hatch is in there. So that's the magic hole, the camera hole we're talking about. They've put them in the bottom of Cessnas, Pipers, helicopters, all kinds of airplanes have these holes. So um, yeah, that's. I just wanted to elaborate on that a little bit.
I'm glad that clears that up because I was not aware. Thank you very much. Now, oh, one thing. So as he's flying real low over the Gulf, he's flying past these oil rigs that are out there, like real close to him, like goes between them because they're just everywhere. And he's flying low to avoid radar. But then we go to a moment there where at the air traffic control center, and his plane shows up on their radar screen, and the controller is very concerned about it. Oh, I've got an airplane. I've got an unidentified airplane, which has an identifier on the screen, by the way. And his boss looks over his shoulders. Don't worry about it. Like, is this guy in on it, or
No,
what's
because
happening?
the helicopters come and go constantly all day from the Gulf Shore to the oil rigs back and forth. There's dozens of them going all the time, bringing people to and from these rigs all over the Gulf.
Then why is the guy working the frequency that concerned about this unidentified blip that suddenly showed up?
That's true. That's a good point. Why is he? Because it should be a no-brainer, but maybe he was going well, because he's going faster than helicopters typically fly.
Would be, yeah, but it just took me out of the moment. I said, "Okay, does this air traffic controller sees it? He thinks there's something off. He tells his boss, and his boss tells him to dismiss it right away." I had the belief that the guy knew what was going on.
Maybe. But I mean, how do you work every shift and like
I don't know. Anyway, he finds that this was a very successful run, and he does a couple more, and the next thing you know, he gets arrested in a raid while he's down there celebrating with the cartel leaders, and he finds himself in a Colombian jail. And here comes General Hux again to bail him out, and he tells him that
I love that you keep calling him from his Star Wars character name. His name in the movie is Schaefer, which isn't actually
that's
his
not as
name, but it
fun.
is his name, but it's not his name. I don't know.
All right. Schaefer comes, bails him out of the Colombian jail, and he tells him that we're moving you, and we bought you an airport and 2,000 acres in the middle of Arkansas. So he's got to go home and confess to his wife everything he's been up to, because at this point she knows that he actually quit his job, but he never told her that he quit his job at TWA. She's figured it out, and we haven't really seen any interaction between the two of them. Uh, to give us any sort of indication what kind of relationship they have at this time. But he comes clean with her, tells her everything, but we got to move. And they leave the house before sunup. Get the kids, get all your stuff, and we're out. And they move to Arkansas, and he finds that the CIA is giving him an airport all to himself, plus 2,000 acres of land, and he is now going to be not just taking photos and running the drugs, which the CIA now know he's been doing, but now they want him delivering arms, weapons to the freedom fighters in what was it, Nicaragua?
I believe so.
So uh, his wife is not happy. She's had to uproot her whole life, and now finds out that her husband is a criminal. But are you a criminal if you're doing it for the United States
He's
government?
playing. He's playing like three different sides, but she only knows the one. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's getting money coming in from everywhere. And so now he's flying these arms, and he finds out that the Nicaraguans don't really care. They don't really want the weapons. They just want money. So he makes a new deal with the cartel to get the guns to them, and it's very complicated. I was able to follow it in the moment, but as I'm reading my notes about it, uh, I'm not sure how they made it work. He was shipping the guns from that it was supposed to go to Nicaragua down to the cartel, and then he was bringing drugs again. Somehow he ended up in Panama. He was buddies with Noriega down there. But then the new deal is that the CIA wants to bring these freedom fighters from Nicaragua, who he has learned have no interest in freedom fighting. They want to bring them up to his little 2,000 acre compound and train them. So the CIA is setting up this training facility to turn these Nicaraguans into hardened warriors. Uh, anyway, all this money is coming into this tiny town, and all of a sudden, there's these Central American looking people walking around in their military fatigues, and these little Arkansas rednecks are like, "What the heck's going on?" And at one point, the sheriff, uh, his wife, kind of mentions seeing something, and he just kind of turns a blind eye to it. I wasn't sure that he didn't know what was going on, also, or he was kind of on the take. But Barry Seal, with all of his money, and he's burying it in backyard in the suitcase. He's got it everywhere. He's got barns full. He's got fancy cars. He's built himself a fancy new house, and his wife is loving this. She is going to town on all this money. Uh, he's got to expand. He can't do it all by himself, so he brings in some more pilots. And now there's just airplanes flying all over this town, this little town that not even on the map. And now there's multiple airplanes flying low over the Gulf, buzzing these oil rigs, going in and out, and they're just like they're partying up. They're going down there with the cartel, having a grand old time. His wife is getting into it now. She's in on the action, and gee, you think that's a sustainable life?
I mean, with money, anything is possible, right?
That's true. Almost anything. Um, well, eventually, the wife's brother shows up, and this guy, it turns out, was made up. The real life story is very different from what we had. There was no real life brother in the real life, but in the movie, the brother shows up. He's moving in with them, and he's kind of
He's like
helping out. And he's
he's a
kind of
sleazeball, right? Like he's a low life with no future. So yeah, his sister has money now. So hey, let me come see what's up.
yeah, and he ends up stealing some of this money and buys himself a gremlin car. Who
Oh
made the
my
gremlin?
gosh,
But
was
I
that?
don't
I
even
don't
know.
know, but that was hilarious. The flames on it and stuff.
And yeah. And by this time, this is what, the early 80s, I guess. So that was a pretty hot car to have. Um, Barry gets mad. His brother is, I don't know if he was mad that he was stealing from him or that he was just mad that he was being kind of loosey goosey with the money all over town. Like at one point, the sheriff sees the kid get out of the car with a suitcase that is just dripping money, cash flying around all over the streets. And the kid got arrested. And Barry was just like, "You got to go. You got to go." And he gets a call from the cartel. He's like, "Hey, Barry, we need you to do a job." And Barry's like, "Well, I got to deal with this issue." And they go, "Oh, about your brother-in-law. We'll take
Yeah,
care of it." And he doesn't
we
know how.
already know. How do
Yeah,
you already
he
know?
doesn't. He. Yeah. Well, they took care of it. Barry, in an effort to save the kid's life, buys him a ticket to Bora Bora, a one way ticket. Get out of town. Don't
But a
ever come back.
typical
Well,
like a typical sleaze bag, he's instead of taking this giant gift and just like being grateful for it, he tries to like spin it back on him, right? Like, oh no, you know what, you're gonna pay me on the regular or something like that. He says, yeah, you're gonna send me money every week or else. Now it's a threat instead of a favor.
right. Well, Barry didn't have to pay him for very long because he only got about 100 feet down the road before his car blew up. And so it turns out the cartel did take care of him. So now Barry is these guys are some serious businessmen, you know. But the work must continue. So he's back in the air. He's got all of his buddies flying in formation. One of the guy falls asleep. They're flying back across the Gulf, and they notice that in one of the planes, the pilot is asleep. So how does Barry Seal wake this guy up? Do you remember?
He rocks his wing on him or something and rock the airplane.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
just he just gave him a little love tap.
Yeah, that's doable. 100%.
It's sure it is. I don't know that I would try it over the Gulf, but or anywhere else, but it worked.
It's the
Guy
drug
woke
trade.
up.
If you go splash, that's the end of it. Moving on next.
But then the FBI starts to notice all this money trickling into this tiny town and they start investigating. And so one of these days that they're out there flying around, all of a sudden the border patrol shows up.
It was in the jet. They showed up in the citation.
Yeah, yes. The border patrol is flying a citation. Barry and his team are flying like twins, piston aircraft, which are nowhere near as fast as a jet can fly. But also, the jet cannot quite fly as slow.
Yeah. They also suck down gas terribly higher than a piston engine down that low. Those are meant to go up into 30,000 feet and sip gas out of their tank for 4 hours. Down low, that thing has an hour and a half of fuel.
So Barry Seal having seen General Hux in The Last Jedi, realizes that the way to outmaneuver these guys is with a slow speed chase.
The Jedi reference. I
So,
love it.
so they slow speed it to the point where the jet runs out of fuel and cannot keep up. Now, why didn't they call in backup? I don't understand. Because this must have taken a while.
This is
You
the
know,
federal government we're talking about. They don't have backup airplanes in sequence ready to go.
well, somebody showed up in another plane, and suddenly Barry is off on his own, and it's like a dogfight, and he heads for a neighborhood. This is almost kind of living out a dream fantasy that
I
I've
gotta
had in my.
pause you right there. You told me how not aviation accurate this is. That is the aviation accuracy part where you're like, hey, these two airplanes are not compatible, both fuel or speed wise, which is exactly what that is all about. The
All
general
right,
aviation, you lean the mixture out, you pull the power back. These piston airplanes are
you know
60
what?
knots, 4 gallons an hour for 20 hours. If you
You know what? Listen, I'm going to give you credit here. You live in the general aviation world. I do not set foot in it. So you are the expert here. So I apologize. You didn't sell this to me as a movie that I thought I would like, and I didn't like it, but now you're pointing out every reason why you said I should. So well done.
all right, I'm sorry.
I give you credit.
Ah,
I give
you're
you
just
credit.
the good
Ah,
parts are going over your head. That's the problem. Yeah.
yeah. That's easy to do. So Barry is now out outflying the border patrol, and he dives down toward a neighborhood, and he lands on a residential street, crashes the plane, the same plane that we've seen him flying since the beginning of the movie, the one with the magic hole and the cameras. And I felt really bad, actually. I felt a sadness at the loss of this plane, but he hopped right out, and he's in some kid's front yard, and he gives him some cash for his silence and his bicycle. And he pedals away to get away from these guys.
Just to back up, the CIA already knows where he lives and everything. They set him up there. But they're operating in secrecy from their own government agencies. So the other government agencies are not in on this and aware of this, and it would be very bad if it were. So they're actually hiding from themselves. Like he has to run from the border patrol to and the DEA in order to please the
And the
CIA. Yeah, and the
FBI.
FBI in order to please the CIA. And the CIA has direct connection with the executive branch, like permission to be doing this stuff for the in theory the benefit of our government's interests, and then the FBI is trying to protect the country from lawbreakers, which is what the CIA is asking Barry to do. So he's running from the same taxpayer funded agencies that he is serving, but they don't talk to each other about this, which yeah, it in itself is a very um, ironic point throughout the whole movie.
And they're all catching up to him at this point too. In fact, to the point where it's becoming an embarrassment for the CIA. In fact, what did you say? Schaefer, General Hux Schaefer, is dressed down by his boss. The Contras are sent home, no longer welcome in Arkansas. They pull the rug out from underneath Barry, and he loses
Well, that
everything.
happens all the time with the government projects. We've read, many reports, stories, movies written about these things. They have their little project. They try to get this thing done, and when they decide it's over, you're disposable. That's the moral of the story. Yep.
And he's been erased now. He's been erased from the CIA. No knowledge that he ever existed. Schaefer never existed, and it's back. He gets back to his little airport there, and the next thing you know, he is getting raided by the CIA, not the CIA, the DEA, the ATF, the state police, the FBI. They all come in at the same time. None of them knew the others were there. I mean, that's some serious stealth operation that they were all
No,
four
that's
agencies
movie
able
magic.
to get
That's
in
movie
there.
magic.
That was music because it didn't happen in real life that way. But he did go down, and he finds himself at the state.
Turns to Attorney General's office is Clinton. Yeah.
He was at the attorney general's office, and she was dressing him down. You're going away for so long. And he was just, I don't know. Barry was really smug. I'm going to walk out. He's bribing all the police officers. He says, I'm going to buy every one of you a Cadillac.
For your troubles.
And,
For your
and they were like,
troubles. Yeah.
for your troubles, for your troubles. And they're just kind of, what is this guy on to say this so brazenly? And next thing you know, the attorney general gets a call from the governor, and Barry walks free. Next thing you know, he's on his way to the White House. And he's meeting with some pretty high level people in the United States government, including Oliver North, most famous for the Iran Contra affair, which happened back in the 1980s, which was a drugs for money for arms
Directly
to
what he was doing. That's what he was doing. He was doing that. Yeah.
exactly what he was doing. So, was there a real life connection there? I'm not sure, but the movies made it happen. So basically, now he's working for the White House, doing all the same thing. He gets away with it again, and got new planes again. Kind of like, here's a new plane, Barry. You go fly right now and do this next thing. So the next thing they've got him doing is they want him. They've outfitted this. What kind of plane was that? The
Oh, the
giant
caribou.
cargo
I don't know the
military.
caribou.
Is
I'm
that
not sure.
was it a
I can't
caribou?
remember.
Huge giant thing. So the plan now is they want him to capture on film photographs evidence of the cartel smuggling, I guess it was it weaponry or drugs. I think weapons. So they've outfitted this airplane with all these cameras, hidden cameras, which are operated by very long and very visible wires, at the end of which is a button that you have to physically hold in your hand and push. And they're very rightly, Barry and his team are like, how are we going to take these pictures when it's so obvious this is what we're doing? And government guys are kind of like, figure it out. So that's what they do. Um, they go down there. He meets his buddies from the cartel yet again. Only this time he's trying to catch them, and they get the pictures, and it's on the news. And on the news, they show the pictures, and there is Barry's face right on camera for the whole world to know. And so suddenly, Barry's been had. The cartel's going to see the pictures. There's nothing he can do. They're going to come for him, and the government's not going to help. They were going to help, but now they don't. So once again, he gets dropped, and uh, he's going down. So he sets up his wife with some money and tries to get her to safety. But he does end up getting convicted once again because they raid his home. Once again, they take all of his money and they take his wife's furs, and they're burying up. They're digging up all the buried suitcases, and he does all this bad stuff. He's done so much bad stuff. And what did he get? What did he get for his troubles? Do you remember his
Oh,
sentence?
it's community service.
Community
That
service.
was a favor.
That
That
he
was a
even
favor.
Yeah, even he couldn't
He wanted
believe
to
it.
go to
So
jail because he'd have been
he's
safer there.
exactly right. And he would have been safer there because he's going now to community service. His wife is out of his life. He's doing community service in, I guess it was in Arkansas, wasn't it? Still. And eventually they come for him, and he's sitting in his car. He's very nervous every time he starts his car. He
Yeah.
If there's people walking by, he lowers his window. Hey, can you? I'm going to start the car. Can you just give me some? He's expecting the car to blow up, just like his brother-in-law, and that doesn't happen. But eventually, some gentlemen with firearms come from all sides, and the cartel did not like being double crossed
But
or
they didn't
triple
double
crossed or
cross
however many.
our government there wasn't him.
Well, he had a relationship with these guys. They were buddy buddy, and he got very wealthy working for them. And
And then the government
they took
used his relationship to get that. Yeah. All right. It's double crossed.
yeah, well, the cartel took exception to that. So uh, they took care of him like they took care of JB, his brother-in-law, and that was the end of the movie. We got a little what's it for some of the other characters, like his wife who was working at the fried chicken shack at the end of the movie, and some of his partners
There's
who we never really got to know.
no, but like the wife at the fried chicken shack, like that's returning to your roots, right? They had it all. They came from a nice like work your way up from not like she had expressed like coming from nothing and waking her way up to this life with Barry as an airline pilot, which they thought was peak peak, suburbia existence, and then it got like better and way better. And then there's always is in any movie, right? The climax and then the decline at the end. So you see the rise and the fall of like every empire, every success story, every company that rises to the top eventually will fall to somebody else. This is just
It was quite an arc. So I guess if the moral of the story is, should you keep your boring job that's gonna, I'm sure he was making pretty good money.
boring and stable.
If the life or is the life of adventure just that much more enticing that you got to risk everything and lose it all in the end?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a fun ride. Yeah, you can sprint or you can what do they call it? The turtle wins the race, or what's that thing about slow and steady wins the race? The tortoise and the hare. Yeah.
That was American made, and I don't know, wasn't my favorite movie, but I know you liked it. So
You need to do more general aviation stuff to appreciate
do I
the
need to though?
accuracies. You do. How much fun did your kid have going up and zipping around and taking pictures of your house and looking at your neighbor's house?
She liked it. She did like it. Yeah. Anyway, that was American made, and what's coming up?
So I got to tell you, do you like technology?
Sure.
Did you
If
ever
I can
have a
figure it
black?
out.
Did you ever have a BlackBerry?
Well, I never did have a BlackBerry. No, I kind of skipped that phase. I was kind of late to the phone world, the mobile phone world. Yeah.
Did you have like a Nokia and then a flip phone and then you went to an iPhone or what?
Yeah, kind of went like that. Yep.
So I was a BlackBerry person, and they actually, so they had those movies about like Steve Jobs and Apple. There were a few of them out there. Ashton Kutcher was
Yes.
Steve Jobs. So do you know who Jay Baruchel is? He's a Canadian kind of comedy
I do
actor.
know who he is.
Yeah, so
Yes.
he
Yes.
he made his own like version of the Jobs movie, but he did it about BlackBerry, a Canadian company.
Okay.
It was good. I liked it. I enjoyed the movie. It's on Amazon Prime. And yeah, it's the story of BlackBerry and RAM Industries.
So are you suggesting we start doing breaking down tech movies and
No,
everything,
no, there were just quite a
getting
few
away
private
from
jet scenes.
aviation?
There were some private jet scenes in the
Oh,
movie
I
that I
see.
just
I see.
laughed at. Um, because like the guy runs up the private jet and he's like, "We're going to JFK," and they're like, "But we're dialed in for LA or whatever, you know." And they're like, "Well, we're going to JFK, you whiny bastards! Like, fire this plane up and go!" And like we're just gonna like depart and just turn the plane the other way. Like we're gonna go instead of one coast, we're gonna go to the other coast. And like there's no paperwork involved in this at all. We're just gonna.
Oh, never a problem. Did you see the movie Seeking a Friend for the End of the World?
No, what is that about? I love the end of the world stories.
So it's a comet coming to destroy the Earth, and there's no getting around it. So Steve Carell, his wife, decides she's been having an affair and she wants to go spend the rest of what remaining
Oh
time she
my
has with her
gosh, no
lover,
way. Oh,
and
that's
he is
terrible.
just lonely. He's just this lonely guy, and he makes a friend, played by Keira Knightley, and they're kind of hanging out. They got 3 weeks to the end of the world, and
All
she's
right,
from
now I gotta
England.
watch it. Don't ruin it. Don't
And
ruin it. I'm gonna go
and
watch it.
all right, all right.
I
It's
love
a
both
good
both
movie, and
Steve Carell and Keira.
it
I gotta
has
watch this.
it has one of those scratch your head flying question movies. Now, you have picked the last two aviation movies. I'd like a chance, if I may, to pick one.
Yeah,
I don't
fine.
know that this is going to be. This is. I don't know that this is going to be the next podcast we do. But folks, get ready. Amazon Prime made an original movie called 7500. It is a hijacking movie, and I couldn't even finish it. It was so bad. So I got to go back in and
Is
finish
that the
it.
kid from Third
And
Rock?
yes, yes, it is.
What's his name? Joseph Gordon-Levitt, right?
Yeah. So 7500 is coming up. I don't know if that'll be our next episode of Cats on Guard, but I want that to be our next movie review because I got to see how it ends.
Yeah, you have any? Okay, so we can both get a
Finish it.
chance at watching this
That's
movie in its entirety then.
that's how bad it was. So yeah. All right. So if you got a movie you want us to watch, send us an email, catsonguard@gmail.com. My name is MC Howe.
And I'm Richard Million.
We will see you next time.